Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time in the world we are. Thank you very much for joining us in this webinar number 9, part 2 in our series. My name's Richard Northover. I'm the manager of NAVTOR UK, and I'll be here as the host for today. The aim of these webinars is all about disseminating knowledge and making sure that everyone gets the maximum value out of the products and services we supply to the market. So thank you for your time. We really do appreciate the time you spend with us each of these webinars. What I'm going to do is take you through a little bit of housekeeping about our platform we're using today. This is called 23, and 23 has a question tab at the top right-hand corner of the screen. Please feel free to use that at any point. We really value your questions. They are what makes these sessions so interactive and so interesting for everyone. And they also allow us to really understand what points are most of use and of interest to the people who use our software. What you'll also know, underneath that question tab, there are 4 handouts for today. The handouts include an invite or a link to all previous webinars. They include the NavStation leaflet, the passage planning leaflet, together with a leaflet we've issued on what is new with both NavStation 6.0, which is the first part of this webinar series, number 9, part 1, and today's part, which is the deep dive into the changes we made to passage planning template. We're calling it version 3, but it's the new template. So today I'll be going through and introducing some of my colleagues, but before that I'll pass across to a very brief presentation just so you can see what we're going to discuss today. So as I said, I'll be introducing some of my colleagues throughout the day. We have a welcome message from Børge Hetland. We then move to the subject matter expert, which is Timo Essers, for the changes, the new features within our passage planning template. Then, of course, we move to our Q&A session, the dedicated question and answer session. Hopefully, we will cover some of the answers to the questions that come in during the webinar. But if not, we'll certainly go through all of the questions that come in. This is where we find the most value in interaction, and we get a deep dive into your thoughts on what we're presenting. So moving on, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Børge Hetland, who will take us through a welcome message. Over to you, Børge.
Yes, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, as Richard said. I guess we are different time zones around the world. We have, I guess when we started, close to 200 delegates logging on. So thanks a lot for taking your valuable time and spend this with us. I just want to say that it's full throttle ahead here at NAVTOR, and we are growing both in number of customers, but also a number of employees. Actually, yesterday, we started 3 new people here at NAVTOR. But still, even though we are growing, we still try to be loyal to the same vision we had when we started, which is to make life easier for you, both on board and also in the office. And today we will be focusing on the passage plan, and I must say that Timo has done a great job with this new template we will talk about today. You know, one of the, let's say, aim we have at NAVTOR is to integrate everything into one integrated solution, both on board and on shore, to have data catch on board through the Navbox system, have data validation, so to make sure that the data coming into the system is correct, because as you know, garbage in is garbage out. Then we also have recently released NavFleet at the shore side, where we will have voyage monitoring and also vessel performance optimization. So to have only one application on board and only one application on the shore side, integrating everything into one single system, to have better decision support tools and also to have one point of truth. We are also working on 2 new exciting products which we will be launching into the market quite soon. And we which are working in the sales, we sometimes have sometimes we sell things before they are launched because we are so eager to get these new products into the market, and we feel that the developers is maybe not following the pace of the sales department. But the thing is that it takes, let's say, a lot of time, and it's complicated to make things appear easy for the user at the front-end system. Now, the more easier you want to make it in the application, the more programming needs to be done into the system. So this is the excuse from the developers when we try to push them harder to get these new products and services released. But I'm looking forward to come back to you later when we have these two new products available. So again, thanks for joining, and hope you will see more of the benefits we have now in the passage plan. So thanks a lot.
Børge talked about previously. I'd like to move back to my presentation very briefly, and I'll take us through the Enavigation Suite. This is the crux of everything we do at NAVTOR, and this is exactly what Børge was describing, one single point of truth. And the way we do that is through a database ashore. The data is collected and sent to the vessel, which is through our nav box. Remember, it's the only piece of equipment we actually put on board, the piece of hardware we put on board. That then forwards information through to the front of bridge, to the ECDIS, but also to back of bridge, to our nav station, or to maybe a second ECDIS working as a planning station. This information, of course, comes back to the nav box and is distributed back to not only front of bridge, but also out through to the database ashore, the nav cloud. When that data is ashore, real time, that can be accessed by our applications such as NavTV, working in your receptions, NavTracker, which is available not just in your offices as a decision support making tool and a management tool, but also on board as well. So this is everyone working in the same software. NavFleet, as Børge again discussed, is taking the same data, but it's moving that data in more optimization and a decision support tool. And that's fed also by the data from the newly acquired NAVTORPassage, which really helps optimization and efficiency. So that is the crux of what we do. And I make no apology for showing it at every one of our webinars. This is the most important part of what we do. Moving across, I'd like to move on, and I'll introduce my colleague, Timo Essers, who is the product manager for passage planning. And I'll introduce him. Over to you, Timo.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, hello, everyone. So already some familiar names in the chat box. Greetings. And so today I will guide you quickly through the new changes that we have done for the passage planning module. As Børge already mentioned, the intention was to release it simultaneously with 6.0, but we do some technical difficulties in programming. We have faced some delays. I'm now going to take you to the passage planning module. Give me a second. As most of you are familiar with, this is the NavStation desktop, the home screen where you find all the subscription services and applications that we have available within the NavStation desktop system. Of course, the one we're talking about today is passage planning, user layers, which is closely related to passage planning, which has been covered in a previous webinar. Before I start to talk about the passage planning module, I will quickly guide you to the configuration settings. To get a proper passage plan and to get the most efficiency from the passage planning, it is most important to set the configuration settings, and especially vessel particulars and the passage plan settings correctly. The vessel particulars basically are the dimensions and some static data in regard to your vessel. For those who are familiar with the older version, the NavStation 6.0 versions. We had the displacement entry here, used some value feedback from our users and some studies we have done. We figured out that the displacement is rather not a static value but a dynamic value, and therefore located this forward to the passage planning menu. Jumping directly to the passage planning menu, we have here two tabs: default values and data collection. The default values, of course, should in all time be set according your company standard compliance values. Easy to edit, to save. Basically, the content has been similar, is still similar with the previous versions, although we have done some slight changes here. What we have done, we have added additional squat formulas to get a more accurate approach of the squat. All formulas are equations and versions of the Brian Barrett's formula. We find this the most known. This is the most used one within the industry. The UKC calculation base can be done on percentage of static or dynamic draft, or not by percentage at all, but by meters. So we have a minimum UKC and an initial UKC limit. And we also have an overhead clearance, which is a new feature that we added, and you can select the formulas. Another item important to mention what we have done. Previously, we had the water depth picking range with the depth value under the data collection. We have relocated this per default passage plan value, and we have added additional algorithms. So you have now the options to disable it and manually enter depth values. You can select by depth area or by spot soundings, which I will demonstrate now. Going to the passage plan, as you see here, I've drawn two legs within the chart, waypoint 0, 1, and 2. As you see, I have here a one leg, waypoint 0 to waypoint 1 is a leg with corridors. In my settings, I had by depth area. If I right click here, object info, I can call up information from the ENC cells. As you see, the area now is getting a red shade. I'm clicking on this, the depth area in this area. So in the margins of leg 1, waypoint 0 to waypoint 1 is 18.2 to 19.4 meters. So for the passage plan, it takes, of course, the most conservative in consideration. As you see here, for waypoint 0 is 18.2 meters. As you see here, waypoint 1, waypoint 2, going back to the waypoints, proceed within a dredge channel. The dredge channel within the ENC has a depth value. Going to object info again, clicking on it, depth range value 16.6 meters. And there is also the dredge area is subdivided in several sections and a depth range value of 16.1 meters. Going back to the passage plan to demonstrate this, as you see, 16.1 meters for the legs that are actually within the margins of the dredge channel, of the dredge area. Now this was a demonstration of the depth area, or the depth picking by depth area, taking the most conservative in consideration. If you have the preference, however, so we make it optional, we are always aim to make the software as flexible as possible, offering solutions and not offering recommendations. So it's up to the user which method has the preference. As you see, there's a number of spot soundings here, and none of these spot soundings has the conservative value of 18.2 meters. So if I now change within the passage planning menu the depth picking by spot sounding, I will do it for all default values. Going to back to the passage planning, I see here a number of spot soundings along the leg. It picks the spot soundings within the margins of the XTD corridors. I see the lowest spot sounding here is 20 or 20.1 meters. Going to the passage plan, as you see, for lag number 0, it's 20.1 meters. All the other values, the other lags, are still within the dredge channel and therefore will not change. How the algorithm works, if there is any object with a depth value shallower than the lowest spot zoning, it will take that value in consideration. So if I, for example, drag now this lag slightly over here, you see that the corridor will, the XTD will go into a new depth contour, will cross a depth contour. Going to the passage plan, you see directly it takes 18.2 in consideration again, because 18.2 is shallower than the shallowest spot zoning, so you're always safe to use. Having displayed this, in addition to the changes in the algorithms or adding additional algorithms, we have done some upgrades in the UKC sheet. We have added more details into the UKC sheet and a more detailed squat calculation. Simply drawing a lag here. Just call it webinar. Dropping waypoints, short lag, XCD margins. Still have the by spot sounding. Go here to new passage plan, because that's compulsory to do. As you see, it requires displacement entries for departure and arrival. This is a very short lag, so there are probably not such significant changes within the displacement. How does this work? Why does it require 2 entries? If you have, for example, an ocean transit arriving with a different displacement in different densities, having an effect due to consumption, it will take for the waypoint. If you have a number of 100 waypoints and you do that waypoint 50, it will takes the delta between the departure and arrival displacement, and then sees how many at that waypoint, how many nautical miles of the total distance has been made good, and calculates predicts how the displacement. It's still conservative because basically takes these in consideration. So if you have any ballast water exchanges, you can add this in the UKC sheet for the particular waypoint as well. Now entering draft figures, doing it pretty easy. Just departure and even keel and arrival and even keel. Giving it 10. Going to passage plan waypoints, clicking edit, same as before. Click UKC calculation. As you see, it takes the draft automatically from the ENC. The height of tide, it automatically extracts from the morality tidal tables. The catsocks are automatically identified from the ENCs. And the calculations are automated based on the company standards. As you see, the 15% dynamic draft, as is within the compliance standards of my default passage plan values, are reflected inside the passage plan. So we have added a drawing. The drawing gives you a direct overview of the actual situation, giving you a visual risk assessment. Then we have 2 charts within the software. So while editing and adding values, it has a mouse over function displaying where it allows you to simulate the effect of squat with a certain speed, and also the decrease of UKC during certain speeds. In the printed version, it will take the actual speed as you have assigned it for that lag. Having the on the right pane of the page, the printed version will look identically the same as this page. On the right side, we have the calculation steps here. There are some steps. Most of these steps are in line with the Intertanko and OCIMF CIRIS standards. So the changes in predicted tidal height caused by speed, barometric pressure, which is a value you can manually enter based on your observations. There are some environmental corrections here, reduced depths over pipelines and other obstructions. Not all pipelines submerged have a depth value, so cannot always be identified automatically. Now we have the vessel size and handling characteristics due to heel and ist, wave response allowance, which requires some manual entries, and then you have the total of corrections here. So we have some sub-steps, some steps in between, and then going to the calculation of the dynamic draft, where you can select the calculations or the formulas applicable to you. For example, take a confined, it will ask you the fairways width, and you see it updates in the chart as well. It's a dynamic cheat, automatically calculates step by step. As I mentioned, the displacement here is still equal because I had an equal number for both arrival and departure, but I can overwrite this value within the passage plan. Same with the planned lag speed. The planned lag speed is 10. You can rather change the lag speed. However, do you have any idea of currents or tidal currents, whatever, affecting the lag speed? You simply enter it here and we'll take it in consideration. So it also gives a green yes or a red no. If there's a red no and a change in speed is applicable to guarantee a safe passage, then it will give a speed recommendation as well, if still possible. So this so far, I can extend this leg over here, the beautiful Golden Gate Bridge. Extending this leg, also going here over a shallow, as you see, going to the passage plan. What we have done in addition, we have added one page. We always carefully listen to the feedback and inputs of our users. We have seen a trend as well that environmental information and security related information has become a larger part of the passage plan. So we have added 2 sections where relevant information can be entered. Then we have the San Francisco Golden Bridge. As you see, I have done no actions at all to fill this in. So all this data is extracted from the ATT layer and from the ENCs. The object has a name, so the object is listed with the name San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. Highest astronomical tide extracted from the ATT. Highest high water of the day extracted from the ATT. The position of the object, the passing time, and the type, whether it's a bridge or a cable. Then we have the vertical clearance, and then we have the height of tide and the overhead clearance distracted by my minimum draft, calculated what my minimum draft. So that's how it's listed. Going to the next one. As you see now, this is still the same UKC sheet we're looking at. Since I just draw the lag, now it also automatically draws the bridge. And also on the right calculation side, it automatically lists the calculation steps for the overhead clearance calculation, and also mirroring these overhead clearance calculations to the company compliance standards. So these are the major changes that we have done within the new passage planning module, or within the passage planning module. We also have done some minor changes within the route planning. As you see here, previously we had we have added the wheel overline, and previously we have done we got the reference point was measured from the actual waypoint. Now we measure it from the wheel overline. I can actually display it with this particular waypoint number 2. So we have the wheel overline position reference. Even this will take 0 effort. I simply click on the object. It asks me if I want to list it in the passage plan with a longitude position or with the name of the object. And as you see, Harding Rock Light Buoy here, the object name is listed here in the route and also in the passage plan, of course, measured from the wheel overlay. Going to the passage plan, taking you to the Part A section of the passage plan. As you see here, Harding Rock Light with bearing and distance. So this so far was my short demonstration of the improvements that we have added into the passage planning module. And then I will give the word to Richard again.
Thank you very much, Timo. That's very kind. So what we've gone through there are a number of features. Timo's very kindly gone through all of them. I'm going to summarize those very briefly now. So I'll move back to my presentation very quickly. The summary of that is what we've seen is the under keel and overhead clearances, the improvements and the changes to the formulae, and also how these are actually manipulated by the software. The displacement move from general settings into individual passage planning to allow for greater efficiency and calibration. We've added the option to pick water depth by soundings. So, but what Timo went through is many other detailed changes as well, which you'll see align with what we have here. We're continually developing our software to meet customers' requirements. We get feedback at all points, so we take that feedback very seriously. Also, the feedback from these webinars is very seriously taken. So please remember to post all your questions up at the top right corner in Ask a Question. I know there are some questions coming in the comments section. That's wonderful. We'll pick them up and we'll put them into the questions as well, which we talk about later. But that's what we've seen today from Timo. So just moving forward, we are planning a continuation to our series, webinar number 10, but we will be issuing a survey following this one, just to see that we're still on track. So we're going to hold fire to advertise the next date and also the next topic until we get the results from the survey, because last time it informed us exactly what was needed or wanted by those people who are viewing the webinars. And we think it's only right and proper. These webinars are for your benefit as well as ours, because the questions influence and help us. But we really want your feedback.